So fortunately, yeah. We joke.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, it is 6 o'clock on Monday, May 4th. This is the work session for the Somerset School Board. I'll call the meeting to order. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alicia, did you turn up that? Lori?
Yes.
Audio?
Yep.
Lori, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. District mission, core values, protocol reminders are listed on the agenda. Just a couple of notes before we approve it. We're going to move items 7, 8, and 13 up to the basically the top of the agenda after the Spartan Spotlight. We do have a board member that has to leave for a choir band concert tonight. So we want to make sure we get those action items out of the way, and then the rest are presentations. So that'll be the only change. We don't need an amendment to it, but just so that we're all on the same page. So if somebody'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, I would entertain it. So moved. A motion by Corey. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2 is public comment. I didn't receive any requests.
I received none.
Seeing no one in the audience for public comment, we will move on to number 3, the Spartan Spotlight.
All right, Robin, come on up. So just in way of a quick introduction, Robin Madison, choir director, an outstanding educator. She does great work. If you are able to see any choir event, you can see it with the kids' joy and their passion, and that is very much inspired by Robin. She's also amazingly flexible. Whatever we need, whenever we need anything, she's there to help out. A great team player and definitely worthy of a spotlight.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I'm actually here to talk about some amazing kids
Can
today.
I pause you real quick? Let's move that camera.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Thank you.
Good call.
Otherwise, you'll just see us smile at you.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thanks for the reminder.
Two on buttons.
Action. Perfect. Okay. So today I wanted to talk about our show choir program that we have. We had some amazing growth this year that I'm really excited to share about. So we'll go over our high school and middle school seasons, and then I want to share with you about our upcoming showcase that's going to be this coming weekend. Our high school, so we have about 22 high schoolers involved in our high school show choir. They meet Tuesday, Thursdays before school, and then some weekends and evenings. So far this year they performed at the Performing Arts Grand Opening, all of our choir concerts, solo ensemble, and then this last weekend they performed at State Solo Ensemble, and they did really great. We went to observe a show choir competition in January, so I took the girls to go see that, and that really inspired us to get on the track of potentially going towards a competitive show choir. So that really inspired the girls, and I'm really excited about what that looks like. We did some other cool fundraising events, but the main one that I'm excited to share with you about, we did our first elementary show choir night. So in November, we, as a fundraiser, held this event. It was an evening in November that gave parents basically really cheap babysitting, but also it was really great for the high schoolers. They led the entire event. They were in charge of teaching the dance and song to the elementary schoolers, and then at the end of the night they got to perform it on the stage. We had over 60 students from Somerset, but also the surrounding area. We opened it up, so we had a lot of great involvement there. It's definitely going to be a repeat event because the kids just loved it, and it was an amazing fundraiser for us. It helped us buy a lot of the stuff we need for our showcase. So that will be something you'll get to see again in the future. What I'm really, really excited to share with you, oh wait, hold on. Chamber choir, the most exciting thing comes next. Chamber choir is a new ensemble that we started this year. It's technically not a part of show choir, but they still perform in the showcase this next weekend. So this is an auditioned ensemble where we perform more advanced technical music. It meets Fridays before schools. and they also performed at state this past weekend. So I wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out. So this year I started a middle school show choir. So it's for 7th and 8th grade students. Throughout the year I had 27 students participate. The end of the year some students had to drop out just due to scheduling conflicts, but that's a large number for the first year. They meet Wednesdays before school and some Mondays as well. And this has been a really good opportunity to teach students a more pop contemporary style of singing versus in choir we focus more on like choral technique. This is for those singers who want to maybe like project more, sing more pop music. And then what I've really noticed from this group is the sense of confidence that these students have and how it's positively impacted our normal choir class. So our day-to-day, like all of these students are now leaders in the choir, and there's more buy-in just in our day-to-day choir class, which has been really amazing. They get there before school and they're excited to be there, they're excited to sing, and it's bled into our normal choir class, which has been really cool to see. How this connects to our strategic plan. So show choir is a very inclusive, team-based environment, and the students are gaining confidence and self-expression. And then it also connects to community because students are performing for families and the community and promoting pride in the district. I mean, these students are just so excited to show what they have, and they're excited to be here and be a part of the school because they get to showcase their talents. So one little pitch for our showcase. So it's this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center. You'll get to see all of the show choirs as well as the chamber choir. We have over 50 students involved for the whole show, and then we also have students involved with tech. So we hire out a lighting designer to design the visuals of the show, and he comes in and he teaches students how to run the lighting and how to run the sound. So what you'll see on Saturday from the students on stage to the students in the booth and backstage is all student-led. So it's really incredible, and I hope you can make it. Yeah.
And Robin provided tickets and they're going around the table
Yes.
right now.
There's a ticket for you to come, so yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is, we're gonna jump to number 7, but I just wanna back up. I don't think I did a roll call, so if you could just make sure the minutes reflect that we're all here, because we're all here. I'd appreciate that. Because when I saw the names on this, I was thinking, I never heard these names out loud tonight.
I was about to call it.
My bad.
Just kidding. None of us noticed.
You're gonna walk so
fast.
Yeah, go. All right, you ready? Okay. So item number 7 will be next. This is continued conversation regarding legal representation and possible action. Lori, you're still with us. If anybody wants to pick up where we left off, just gonna pass it to the open board.
Yeah, go.
Oh,
Took a deep breath, Steve.
yeah.
I didn't want to get in the way of that.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I had peppers beforehand.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, too much information. It seems like the fairest and most reasonable way to look at this attorney is some of us, a few of us have had concerns about our previous legal representation, our current legal representation. How we were rushing towards Title IX a few years ago, and it just seemed unnecessary and caused a lot of drama, for lack of a better word, in the community. So I, for one, would like to see the RFP proposal that we had discussed, where we could maybe have up to 3 firms give a presentation to the board, and then under Dr. Grabau's leadership, be able to vet some of them and go through them, including our current one, and have them present. So I guess it could be more than 3, but that's just my opinion, that we should, at least since we don't have a unanimous opinion as far as sticking with our current legal representation, it seems like it would be nice to have that availability to listen to other firms and see what they can offer.
Yeah, and I think too, you know, if there were other members that had concerns and I didn't, I would wanna, you know, hey, when in doubt, we've done something for a long time. We're pushing hard to make a lot of positive changes in the district. You don't make positive change by not making changes. I think the argument I see that this really helps is those examples where, you know, some people feel like it's been objective. I personally don't feel like it totally has. I feel like there's always a weight on the scale that goes in one direction, and it's the direction that makes me nervous. We've watched closely what's happening in Richmond, and I think we all agree we really want to avoid us getting anywhere close to a situation like that, and being proactive and making sure that we have representation that's going to, you know, take us down the middle of the road and be very open, be very transparent about the risks from both sides. And just my opinion, based on watching it for years, this isn't like just coming in with no knowledge. You've been watching very closely for many years. That's my main point that makes me a little nervous. Like, if we had a situation pop up like that, which could happen anytime, you just never know. Now we're gonna go with whoever we've got, and I'd just be nervous about that. So I think it's just an opportunity to, see some different opinions and just try something new. I don't see any reason why not.
Anybody else have comments, or is there anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we have Dr. Grambaugh, the District Administrator, prepare and issue a formal request RFP for professional legal services with the goal of identifying and vetting up to 3, maybe 4. I'll say 3 qualified finalist firms to present the board for interviews and final consideration to present it to us.
Okay. There's a motion on the table. Alicia, did you get that?
No, but I'll listen back now.
Okay. Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second. So a motion by Steve, a second by Danny. Discussion. Lori, do you want to start?
Well, I have a couple questions. Who's going to decide who the 3 legal firms are? Is that left up to Dr. Grambaugh?
Yes, any direction. This would be to direct Dr. Grambaugh and the administration to conduct this process as he wants to lead it. So this would be up to him, yes.
And I'll speak to that just based on how I think I would like to proceed. Is if firms meet the qualifications and we have more than 3, maybe we have a multi-tiered process where we go through a first vetting, and then maybe it's 3 that come to the board for interview. But making sure that any of the qualified firms, because there are a lot out there, and we discussed whether that's based on experience, based on what state they operate out of, their geographic location, all of those considerations. I'd hate to leave someone out of consideration if they seem to be equally qualified.
Well, then I'd probably modify the motion to say multiple.
Okay.
Multiple, I think that.
That would be great. That would be, easier.
Sure.
Yeah.
Leave it open, yeah.
Yep. Thank
Can
you.
you just read that again then? So there's a,
Sure.
he wants to modify the motion. Yeah, I guess just make sure that Alicia has
So,
it.
yeah, so we, the Somerset School Board, direct Dr. Grambaugh, the district administrator, prepare and issue a formal request for proposals for professional legal services with the goal of identifying and vetting multiple qualified finalist firms to present to the board for interviews and final consideration at a future meeting.
Okay. Corey, your second, or Danny, your second still stands?
Yes, I have a question. Can board members send you information on law firms? Or
Oh, yeah,
anything?
yeah, if you
Okay.
have information, feel free to send it my
Okay.
way. Yep, absolutely.
Lori, I was going to go around the room. Lori, any other discussion now that the motion has been modified?
Yes, I would like to know if Dr. Grambaugh has a estimate on how much time this is going to require from the administrative team.
Honestly, Lori, I don't. I'm having not gone through this process before, I'm not certain how long it would take. I'm confident, the team, we can put something together relatively quickly that makes sense, but it certainly is not without some extra energy and time.
So I have concerns about spending a lot of, making this a priority at this time. Now, I'm confident that we have gotten appropriate legal advice. There have been times when I personally have not liked the advice, but I am confident that it was legally sound. And the example that Dr. Bramble gave at our last meeting about the flexibility and the willingness to work outside of regular business hours to provide the necessary services at 6 o'clock on a Friday night because of something that occurred on a Friday afternoon. I don't know how much more you could ask for from our legal representation.
Anything else?
Not at this time.
Okay. Steve, any comments on it?
Yeah, so my comments would be, I know there might be some inconvenience, but I think it's important. Like Corey was saying, at any moment in time, we could have an issue like New Richmond, and I don't want to be caught by a ball not being legally prepared. So even though it's inconvenient, it's wise to explore those opportunities to look at different firms.
Okay. Corey, any other comments on it?
Yeah, when I was thinking about this issue and thinking about, watching the New Richmond thing and watching their legal advice is really interesting. I'd like us to have that discussion, to be proactive, to say, what would we do, and have those discussions with our council at some point as well. I also think, one of the biggest factors that I always take into consideration when trying to make wise decisions like this, I always make sure that I'm highly confident that the people that elected me to sit here and make these judgment calls the majority of them would agree with where I'm going. And I'm confident in this, that it's one of those nuanced things that they aren't very aware of those details, but if they were, I think they would very much agree, like, okay, yeah, based on your opinion of those things, they would be very supportive of it too, if it was something that could be surveyed. So I just think about it from that standpoint. So I'm confident we're doing the right thing by looking into it.
Okay. Ian, any comments on it?
Well, as far as giving us legal advice and the Title IX concerns that you have, you remember the board went counter to that advice and tabled it. It is a complicated issue with legal ramifications on both sides. So, I don't have a problem going to RFP and looking into it. But I'm not looking for a cheerleader either, on any particular issue. Just want somebody to lay the facts out.
Well, being new to the board and not knowing exactly what you all have experienced with the current legal advice, I haven't heard any big concerns in people I've talked to that they've had with the legal person we currently have. So I don't know what your feelings have been and what you've seen, but right now I don't see a huge issue.
Okay. Dan, any comments on it?
I've had some concerns, and I just think that going to RFVP would be a good idea.
Yes. I'll just say that, I recognize everybody here has different opinions. They have different experiences and, their interpretations of case law and everything that's happened in society. It all varies. And I completely respect that, everyone is out for the good. A couple things I have to just take away is that, I haven't experienced or heard any true sound rationale that supports looking elsewhere. I've been on this board for 4 years, same as Ian and Lori. We went through the Title IX. We have done expulsion hearings. We've done a lot that has required use of our attorney. Some comments I have agreed with, some I haven't, but I do have to rely on their legal opinion at the time, whether I agree with it or not. My other concern is cost and time that it's going to take the administration to do something like this for what I haven't found that sound rationale yet. And then my last thing that I think that we all just really need to consider is Dr. Gramble gave us his recommendation last week on this process, and it was that we stay where we're at because it brings stability to the district, it brings stability to his role. We hired him less than a year ago, and we have to trust that his advice he's giving us is rooted in cause. And I can't, at this point, I can't go against what he recommends to us just because. So those are my thoughts. We've all had a chance to speak. So there's a motion on the table to go to RFP. There's a second. We'll do a roll call vote. I think that's probably what the board would like. Steve, just because
Yes.
you're across from me, do you mind if I start with you?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Corey?
Yes.
Ian?
Yeah.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Tricia?
No.
Danny?
Yes.
Myself, no. Lori?
No,
Okay. So it will pass 4-3. What direction do you need from us?
I think,
Is that motion a good starting spot?
yeah, the motion is clear, so I think we're solid there. What we'll do is we'll put together a timeline for the next board meeting. So then we can see just how we would see and know that that timeline might be flexible because we won't know all the variables, but we'll at least rough in a timeline so the board can see how we see that playing out. I mean, certainly where we are now, anticipate this going into the summer. This isn't going to happen before we're done with the school year, but we could get after it, I would think, in the summer.
Okay. So we're good. Next item, it'll be number 8 on the agenda, human growth and development curriculum process for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. As you recall, we had a discussion about this last week at our last meeting. There is a memo attached. Do you want to speak to that memo?
Yep, you bet, yeah. So a really good conversation. I appreciate the conversation we had. I was gonna say, it was only last week, exactly a week ago. Quick turnaround, but good conversation. And I think the real issue there were, I guess, 2 issues that we're talking about. One was content. So when is it appropriate to have the conversations about human growth and development, specifically puberty? And then secondly, what should that process look like if we are going to make changes to what has been agreed upon in the past? So and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I'm fully supportive, and I think it's very important that we move that instruction starting in 4th grade. There were a few things that I wanted to clarify with the team to make sure that when we make that change, that we weren't making other changes that we hadn't really thought about. So one of the biggest things, and I have it in the curricular continuity portion of the memo, I wanted to make sure that we weren't like moving everything back. Like, does everything move back 1 grade level? And that's not the case. What happens in 4th grade is essentially repeated in 5th grade with a little more opportunity for kids to ask open-ended questions. But the scope of the content is exactly the same, and that was something that was important to make sure that I understood, and that is the case. The focus of this instruction is listed there: physical changes to the body, the biological process of maturation, and personal hygiene and self-care during development. That's the content. But what had happened was a change was made, and as I said, things related to human growth and development, religion or politics, require a little deeper dive and likely more conversation out in the public if we're going to make changes, especially to something that has sort of an agreed upon process. So my recommendation is that we continue with the plan as laid out this year, where families are able to opt out. The instruction would begin in 4th grade. But at the end of the memo, for the future governance of this process, I would recommend that any time we make a change to this, it would, to human growth and development curriculum, require prior administrative review, so the admin team would take a look, public board discussion, and then actual board action to make those changes. So that's essentially what we'd be doing by the action we're looking for today, is doing that after the fact, having the board essentially take action after the fact to approve us to make the change to go in 4th grade. We laid out the fact that in terms of where I have a stronger opinion, I have a stronger opinion that it should happen in 4th grade than I do opt-out versus opt-in. So that was the other thing that was on the table. So the guidance I'm looking for is an open motion, and whatever guidance you have, I think we can work within that scope, but know that the recommendation is strongly to keep it in 4th grade.
I had a question. I didn't notice anything about how the Human Growth and Development Committee would come into this in the memo. Like, would they report to you or report to the board? And then that's what you
Yeah.
taken.
Good question. So at the next iteration, when we pull that team together again, what we would like is that team offers specific recommendations to the board. And the specific recommendations would be age level and the scope of the content. So like a bulleted list, these are the topics that would be discussed by grade level. And then that would go to the board for action, and then that becomes the core of that curriculum. It's ultimately the board's decision. It's not the committee's decision. The committee studies deeply and then provides guidance. The board makes the decision, and then that's what we would lock in.
Thanks.
How about taking into consideration with that committee, you know, the clear reading of the statute where parental input is key.
Yep.
And the next point of that conversation always is, that's hard. It's hard to get people, it's hard to get parents, community to provide input.
Yeah.
Maybe, but we haven't really tried either.
Mhm.
So maybe we should at least try to, or maybe that's something part of the process where the committee always does something to try and get community, especially parent input on this topic.
100% Corey, yeah. There's specific language in the statute that requires ratios, and parents need to be the most represented group. Like you said, that is challenging, but also this process can be a long process, but typically it's not going to be, it's a couple meetings. It's not like joining a committee for 2 years. So I think we could hit the pavement and get enough parent representation to have voices heard.
Yeah, and I'm just sensing a little bit of dissonance here or just confusion or like, okay, there's some information that we're going off of that makes it seem like, puberty's happening earlier, we should do this. That's where your recommendation is coming from, right?
That's part of it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't have access to that data. I've never seen it. I'd like to. So if you have any resources there, it'd be
Sure.
good to, review that. The one, I did look, and the first thing I found was the DHS survey, which is the biggest survey that I could see that was done in '23. And across Wisconsin, a fairly high percentage of parents didn't want it to start until middle school.
But
That was kind of interesting. That was pretty recent, pretty broad, pretty, accredited organization doing that study, and we're going against that study, so.
I don't think we are. I'd have to look closely at the study, but when I saw a survey similar, maybe the same one, might not be.
Yeah.
That was about sex education, not about human growth and development in puberty. I've never seen anything from a reputable source
Yeah.
recommending that puberty wait till middle school. That would be problematic for lots of reasons.
Okay, and here's the stuff, if we all had
Yeah.
that information 3 weeks ago, this conversation would probably be really easy, so.
Sure. Yeah.
Should we table this until we have that? I mean, it feels like, the process that we should be following is pretty clear, and we basically haven't been. And we broke it to make this change. So I feel pretty strongly that we should first get the process right. And, it's not like kids in 4th grade not learning human growth and development in the meantime is a crisis. But getting the process right is really important to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's important to get the process right. I think in terms of the process, now, to the best of my knowledge and what I've heard, the process was handled in alignment with the statute. The fact that we made a change partially is, I think, caused by the fact that the outcome of that process wasn't crystal clear. That's not laid out in statute, that you will have written recommendations, and that's the piece that didn't happen. So when we broke it, really what we broke was just past practice. Past practices, we didn't start till 5th grade. We were one of the only districts in the area that didn't start that conversation until 5th grade. Decision was made to roll that back 1 year, begin in 4th grade, but that didn't undo or circumvent the process. The process just wasn't completely clearly laid out. So that's why the recommendation is to be crystal clear with that process. So we have that guidance and we don't stray from it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just, in terms of timing, if we postpone, it's just not happening because we don't have enough time to bring that back. We're really close to the end of the year.
So, I know we talked last time about, you brought up opt-in,
Yes.
so that's not part of the discussion.
Oh, totally could be, yeah.
Okay.
If someone makes a motion to continue with the instruction but move to an opt-in, where we'd have to essentially like have a permission slip, that would be fine. We'd have time to work that in.
Yeah, I'll make that motion right now that going forward for the rest of the school year, we have opt-in instead of an opt-out.
There's a motion on the table by Steve. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Corey. Any
But I have a
discussion?
question about it. So it's already out there.
Yeah,
And you'd have to redo that, which maybe you,
not a huge deal.
alright.
I mean, it's really, it literally be like if we're gonna go on a field trip, that we'd have to get a permission slip real quick, get it out to folks, gather it. Not a huge concern.
And what would this motion, what grades does this apply to?
Well, this would apply to the
Just
fourth
fourth
grade.
grade.
Only to fourth grade?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Lori, any discussion?
No,
Working around the room. Anyone else have any discussion? Hearing none. Would you like a roll call vote, or how would you like this vote?
Say roll call.
Roll call. Steve?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Tricia?
No.
Danny?
Yes.
Myself, no. Lori?
no,
A motion passes 4-3. So for fourth grade, it'll be opt-in.
We'll get on that right away tomorrow, so we can do stuff.
Thanks.
All right, next one, for purposes of action, we'll move to number 13, consent agenda. Does anybody want to make a motion for any or all of the items listed here? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I will
for
make
the
a
consent?
motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion by Tricia, second by Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we jump back to number 4, athletics and activities budget review.
All right. So I'm going to buzz through the budget that we've got in athletics this year. Excuse me. Just a quick academic excellence. We always talk about athletics and activities and what does that bring to us as a district. I think, Alicia, would you be willing to click on the link for View Winter
Oh, yeah.
Achievement details, please? So I just wanted to make it, I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but just all of our different winter representation as far as on the mat, on the ice, on the court, what we did, conference stuff, and then the academic side of it as well. Many sports, how you make academic all-state, it kind of varies. The stipulations kind of vary. But for the most part, it's a certain GPA. But for like basketball, for instance, it takes into account your varsity players only, as opposed to some sports takes in your everyone in the program type of thing to create your varsity GPAs. And so academic all-state, we had Blake and Thomas in wrestling. We had our boys varsity or boys hockey team was the top GPA in the state, which is awesome. In the girls realm of things, our girls were at first in our sectional for academic all-state. We had some individuals there. Our girls basketball was the 3rd highest GPA in the state for Division III. Slide on down, please, again, sorry. And then boys, we're also 3rd in the state in GPA for Division III. And then we had a bunch of individuals recognized, and then cheer and dance through their associations, WACP had their scholar athletes as well. So opportunity to speak to the board, so I thought it'd be a good time to showcase that as well. And a lot of the good stuff that we're doing with our on and off the courts as well. So just a quick overview. We're governed by the WIAA, and then we're also governed by the Middle Border Conference. Our girls hockey competes in the Big Rivers Conference. There's all the sports we offer, 18 in total. Activities that fall under my guidance is cheer, dance, drama, leadership opportunities in the National Honor Society and School Student Council, and then different specialty groups like forensics, robotics, and ski club. Our middle school programs that we support, obviously much fewer, but just the general ones. On the left, you see the athletics that we have, and then activities on the right, drama and ski club are on that as well. And then it gets into the budget breakdown. So far, we're running at about $115,000. Some of it takes into account, so I broke it down by grouping. Some of it takes into account for instance, officials. That's for the whole school year. That's projecting out what we're going to pay this spring yet. Pretty easy to project that out. If we were to lose games, then we obviously don't pay the officials. Meaning if the weather kicks in, we don't have those games, so that would deduct from it. So that's the max we could pay in the officials this year. And then as you kind of sift through all those different numbers, the dues and fees piece, right? We go to a wrestling match, we go to a track meet. Those generally have a fee associated with them to cover the cost of timers and workers and all the bigger cost to programs to run. So we're about to host a meet tomorrow night, so we charge them to come to ours so we can pay for timing services, which is like $1,300 to have them to time the meet for you. And so that offsets those things. So it's not a moneymaker when you collect fees, but that's the why behind it. And then again, it breaks down. So some of the big numbers that kind of stick out are your officials and your workers, right? Those would be the two largest numbers on there. Our officials, right? You're in a battle for officials in the area. We raised ours by $10 at our lower level per official per event, and that got us to probably the bottom, just above the bottom of the conference in some sports, but we're still not at the top. We're nowhere near the top or the middle. And so as you look at that and say, well, that's a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but we're still not what other schools are paying. And if you're not willing to pay, why would you drive from River Falls to work in Somerset when you can work in River Falls? It's the kind of mentality. So like all of our lower level officials don't come from Somerset, right? We have a handful that maybe do, not even, across all sports. So they're driving to come here, and unless you're willing to compete with pay, there's not a great incentive to drive too far for that. So that's some of that. Our workers, right now are projecting out about 16,000 through the winter. We're at about that number there. Again, if anyone's looking to fill some slots tomorrow, we'll take you. We have track openings still, right? Like we offer money to work those spots, and it's not what people do. It's, we have community members filling it, we have parents filling it, we have coaches that should be coaching that are filling working spots. And so that's a battle to do. And again, you're trying to offer people something. And so when you look at those figures, in reality, it's not that much. Again, across the conference, what we pay per event is similar to and or less than what most in our conference pay. It's just, like I said, it's for 4 hours of work, it's about $9 an hour you're going to get paid. So again, you got to want to do those things, and so that's where it kind of comes from. So the rest of it, again, you can see that. If you have questions on that, let me know. Any questions off the top before I move on off of this number?
Are there ways that some of those sports like
track, try to recruit volunteers or parents for some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, we're always doing that, right? On weekly emails, the coaches are asking for help. And that's where, quite frankly, we got a few of the people, right? Yeah, it's just when you go to a meet, you want to watch your kid compete. They don't necessarily want to have to work an event. If I'm working long jump and my child's doing all the other events, it's, the reasons are many why people don't want to. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're asking. I email staff multiple times on things. It just kind of is what it is. And then you'll always see the same people working the events, right? So you go to a bass football game, then you go to a winter sport, then you go to a spring sport, you'll see a lot of the same faces over and over again. And they get tired of it after a while, and so then that makes it even harder. I even give them free pizza.
Sorry. I was gonna say, just for the sake of people watching, like, what are some of these jobs that you need help with?
Doing book, doing clock, supervision. Those are gonna be your main ones in the fall, right? You got clock for football, clock for volleyball, you've got book and clock for basketball. You've got supervision at any and all the schools, tracks. At any given track meet, there's 23 spots they need to fill, right? Raking, measuring, not really timing, moving the bars on heights, right? It's fairly simple work. You just have to have a little bit of knowledge on it, a little bit of training, very minimal training. So, you try to stress that fact to people too. And it can be scary, but again, if you've been in events and at those activities, it really isn't too terribly difficult of work. It's just, it has to work you have to have, right? Especially at the lower levels, it's pretty stress-free in my opinion. But again, it's one of those deals where you go to an event and time's not running right or the score's wrong and everyone's yelling at you too, right? So that can be stressful,
Not helping.
right?
Never happens, by the way.
Yeah, right. Because you hit the wrong button. So, yeah, I mean, we're not alone in this. Every district goes through it, and it's just you are trying to figure out ways, and more money isn't necessarily the answer. Obviously, it does help for people to get paid, but it's just kind of a want to and a willingness to give up a little bit of your time out of your week. So.
It is a great way also to learn more about the sports that you're working. You end up learning a lot. Like if you have to run the clock, you'll get the training and you learn a lot more about that sport just because you learn about the intricacies and the ins and outs. So if you're just interested in being more involved and more engaged, it's a good opportunity.
Is there any chance you enhance that worker pay by getting some donated gift certificates to food or something? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Never
Just a
know.
thought.
People are motivated by free things sometimes.
Exactly.
For sure. And like I said, we're open to any and all ideas. So, and that just kind of breaks down the percentage. Like we talked about, they already kind of focused that, like with many things in the school, your personnel services are going to be your highest. Budgeted additions, things that we've been working on. New uniforms this year through the Fund 21, which is where our sponsorship money goes. I'll show you what we make on sponsorship here in a second. We're able to start our uniform rotation again. We were on a uniform freeze for the last 3 years due to budget issues in the past. And now with our sponsorship rolling in pretty good, we're able to use our Fund 21 to pay for those uniforms. So we purchased 4 new sets this year, capped it at $3,000. So if teams, which they're not cheap, go above the $3,000 mark, then those teams cover the costs, right? Through their fundraising and whatever else they have to do to cover those costs. So again, that's not necessarily in my budget of the Fund 10 budget. It's in my Fund 21 stuff, which can be a revenue source, and the primary revenue source is your sponsorships. And again, I mentioned this already, but the officials' fees, this is our first year under the $10 increase. Again, I think that helped, but at the end of the day, you know, it's, you try to provide them with a positive reason to come here, and we, you know, all of our officials, we try to give them, treat them well, and they respond to that. You know, we give them, you know, Gatorade, water, candy bars, you know, popcorn, things like that, as an incentive to try to get them to, you know, want to work at Somerset. We addressed the coaching pay system last year, so that's in a really good spot. Fund 21 also covers the professional development on the athletics, academics, or athletic side of things, where we're, you know, get them into state association clinics and or the state tournaments. That you can choose one or the other and cover the cost of the registration to those, and then hotels and things like that are still on their own to cover. And then just any of the basic supplies that, you know, are above and beyond that we, you know, Fund 10 covers basketballs and a scorebook, right? The minimum. If we need a few things above and beyond that, we can tap into our Fund 21 to get those things. Our sponsorship right now, we currently have 15, those posters are out and about, but 15 area businesses advertise on our video boards, indoor, outdoor, on our calendars you see around school, around town, some of the businesses. What they pay varies on what they want to have, but generally we raise about $40,000 off of that. Again, talked about, most recently we got into the uniform rotation. We helped with wrestling, was in high need of some new mats. They hadn't had them in a while. So we were able to kick in about half of what those cost. Again, the clinics, and again, the Honor Plaza that we put out this last fall, we were able to donate to that and get that off and running. So our goal is, you know, we'll reach out to as many businesses in the Somerset area. There's probably double that amount, and we just try to really keep, you know, the more we can get, obviously the more money we'll make off of it. And so, you know, it's one of my goals this year is, again, to really reach out to some that's like, and maybe, you know, we have the new businesses right in town, you know, right down across from Happy Place and that, in the Woodstock buildings or whatever we call that. So the goal was to reach out to them because they weren't up and running when we did the sponsorship last year. So there's a lot of opportunity that way. I would say that's going to be our best bet to grow that side of things. Some other revenue streams, generally speaking, for this year we raised about that amount of money on our gate, which is up from last year. Football, volleyball, basketball, wrestling are your ones you can charge, right? It's easy access, you know, there's a gym. No admissions charged for the outdoor sports. Could look into possibly adding track because it is gated. Hockey handles the admission, help offset some of their costs because it is an off-campus facility. Entry fees to invites, again, we talked about that. Registration fees. It's funding that doesn't go into my Fund 10 account, it goes into the general account, and I'll show you that in a second. Donation. WIA events, we get a small percentage. Other thing is, you know, we've really cleaned up our facility fees for groups that come in outside of Somerset to use. That's something we could continue to look at. Here's our registration for this year, 856 registered in all of our athletic and activities. See the cost up there. Again, we had bumped that up this year from, that was $5 for individual, and ended up being $10 for the family max. $10 for the family max, so it went up. So again, money collected off of that number, 856, 33 are free and reduced. Obviously, no fees are collected for that. Again, that revenue goes into the general account though. And then we've been hosting, so WIA tournaments is a big thing that we host. We host several a year. We get 20% profit or the reimbursement, which goes to pay for your workers and things like that. So that's eaten up. I mean, we don't make any money off that. What you do make money off is your concessions. So if any group sign up for the concessions, they'll make money off of that. So that's really where the money's made. Our hockey co-ops, we share the revenue with the number of schools that are in it, based on the number of people that are participating. And then we have some other grants that are out there, like robotics and music grants. Again, just kind of a history is in there of all the years we've hosted a number of events, and it varies from, if our teams are in it, obviously it gives you more, to there's times where we're just chosen as the hockey sectional final host for girls, for boys. This year we had the girls hockey sectional final, which we played in, but we would have had it anyway. We had the girls basketball sectional final and the boys basketball semifinal. So those are events that WIA thought enough of us because we do a good job of hosting it. We put on a good event. And so we've hosted those events, and then on top of that, we had 6 we hosted their teams played in so far. Just again, we're transitioning to a platform called Bound. It's replacing what is Arbiter in our school for those that have had kids in school and have gone through the registration process and watching schedules and things like that. Bound is going to be the newest platform. Entire Middle Border Conference is switching to it. All the area conferences, Big Rivers, Dunn St. Croix, Heart of the North, Lakeland conferences, all the ones that are in our area and touch our boundaries are on it. So it makes sense to go that way. Again, it's where everything's going to be: registrations, schedules, facilities, and ticketing. Ticketing, we were with GoFan, it replaces them. One of the big reasons is our technical support with them has been really good. Arbiter, when they switched from our school to Arbiter, had dropped the ball greatly. So what we can do to help that is if we get up to 80% cashless at events, that will reduce our price from what it is right now of the $24.99. So all schools are really trying to push for that piece to get cashless. As big of a transition as that might be for some people, it would be a benefit to our district. And so that's what our hope is. So we're really going to try to more so this year. Come tournament time, WIA tournaments, that's kind of the man. I mean, they still take cash, but 90% or more go online with that. So it really isn't that hard to make that switch. It's just a mindset change. A little bit on the hockey side of things. We made a $19,200 commitment this year. It was to cover help cover the cost of the boys and girls programs, right? New initiative aiming for long-term sustainability, significant cost reduction for our families who have to pay into the Red Line, Blue Line clubs. Some information I found is in Richmond School pays $90,000 to their rink for fees. The actual cost for Somerset programs this year would have been about, or is, $48,000. So this, as you can see, isn't the full impact, it's a partial impact to kind of offset some of those things. And it's one of those things when it's an off-site facility, you know, we don't have to necessarily worry about, like, we have to line the fields here, we have to do, you know, field prep, have our guys prep those things. So that's kind of some of the why behind what we went with this year. And like I said, it was new this year, and so we kind of, that may vary a little bit moving forward, but it was kind of based off of like a $95?
Yeah, 95.
$95 an hour type of rate. So I have it in my notes, but I can't find it quickly. Yeah, $95 per hour of ice time. I kind of zipped through that a little bit. Any questions? Anything you want to go back to?
Anybody? Lori?
Put her to sleep.
Well, it's past midnight where she is, so it wouldn't be a surprise. She's in London right now.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet. I think I have the next one too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if she's still on, Matt.
It's okay.
Okay. Oh.
And this works well to do this when we just spotlighted Miss Madison's group. So every year we do I come to the board with any overnight trips, and so it's because this one's so early in the school year that we thought it best to get it on the agenda now. So I reached out to Robin and said, can you get me what you need? And you got a very, very detailed plan of what they're going to do on their overnight trip. They're calling Show Choir Boot Camp. This is new for them this year, and as she spoke earlier in the spotlight, they're really trying to grow their show choir group, and so this pays right into it. As you can see, the cost is on the students. Basically, there's no cost to the district other than transportation, like it would be for any event.
Yeah, this one came on because it's an overnight trip, right?
Correct,
That
yeah.
needs to come in.
That has to come before all overnight trips
That was the only
do.
reason.
I usually do like a big one at the start of the school year, but because this is so early, we wanted to make sure you had it before, and it's new. So that's kind of the why behind it coming now.
Any questions on anything you presented? You don't need any action, this will all just be wrapped in the budget?
Correct.
This is just information?
Yep.
Perfect.
Well, does the overnight trip need approval? Will
That
that be
might.
coming to the next
I
regular?
think you guys have to
meeting?
approve the overnight trips.
Yeah, we'll have time to take it for action for the next time. So yeah, we'll move that forward for the regular meeting, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because that one we won't have all the other trips
That won't be
presented to us yet.
correct. So it'll be a standalone, and then I'll do the rest probably in August.
Well, I suppose they need the approval so they can do all.
They got stuff they got to book, whereas mine are just like literally games that we are on the schedule type of thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. You.
All right, next item is the ES3 grant. Yes?
Okay, well, I'm gonna chat with you guys about the ES3 grant. Some of you heard me talk last year about it. It is a grant for enhancing social and emotional skills for students with IEPs. So we're just gonna go through a little bit about kind of what it is, who's on the team, kind of explain the purpose of it a little bit. But it's a discretionary grant. It's funded through IDEA, so Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It was applied for, so we had to be awarded it from the state, and that happened in the 23-24 school year. So this is our second year of the grant. The core mission is really to just look at our kind of overall structures and identify different supports and skills and the systems that are needed to improve the overall outcomes for students with IEPs or students that have been identified with disabilities. And it takes, so there is a statewide coordinator that helps us assist through coaching, training, and different resources to implement some of these evidence-based strategies. So it's kind of looking at your overall systems of supports and ways that we can enhance it to have a greater impact on our students that have disabilities. Again, the target population is students with autism, students with emotional behavioral disabilities or other health impairments, or other disability-related needs. So just kind of those are it can support, you don't have to be like qualified in those disability areas, that's just the targeted population, if that makes sense. A little bit about who's on the team. So I'm the district coordinator. Our internal coaches that kind of carry the brunt of the work are Kristen Kraft and Megan Jaworski. Megan, this is Megan's first year on the team. She took over for a special ed teacher at the middle school that left. So we have two internal coaches. Then we have the core team listed there. So we meet once a month. Again, myself, Kristen Kraft, who's a high school special ed teacher, Megan Jaworski, elementary special ed teacher, Michelle Pulisic, who is one of our speech pathologists, Carly Ullman is our student support specialist, and then Cody Wallen, our high school social studies teacher. So like I said, I meet most frequently with the internal coaches, then we meet once a month as that core team. The core team then supports the implementation teams. So again, part of the work that we do is looking at and identifying students that have some of these more behavioral concerns, and then we identify some implementation teams. So the implementation teams right now are supporting at our elementary school and our middle school, and they work with the internal coaches to basically look at and identify
different evidence-based strategies and making sure we're completing those with fidelity. So it's kind of a long, ongoing process. Just to give you a little background on what the requirements are. So again, district teams select these evidence-based strategies and then they develop the plans and outcomes. Part of that process is bringing the whole team together to complete these root cause analysis meetings. So Risa Haas from DPI comes in and kind of works with our teams and goes through this root cause analysis, and that's really any student that is going, or any staff that's going to work with and support the student. So we've got general education teachers, paras, special ed teachers, behavior coaches, the whole gamut of anybody that's going to work with that student is there to kind of complete this. We dive a little bit deeper into what are the behaviors that we're seeing, what are some of the external factors, what are some of the things that we can control at the school, and then really matching those student needs with this evidence-based strategy. So it's kind of the crux of that work that goes into the planning. Again though, it's part of the goal of the grant is to develop some systems, increase skills, and then build in kind of these coaching capacities within our system. The grant only lasts for 3 years, and so the goal is to really enhance our system so we can be functioning like this without the support of the grant, right? It's just building our teams and the systems to kind of have that long-standing impact. Like I said, the funding duration is for 3 years. So last year, it was $24,000, this year it's $22,000, and then next year it'll be $12,000. So those are the three kind of standpoints, and as long as we're meeting the annual deliverables. So me presenting to you once a year to the board is part of those deliverables. Just a little recap, this is what the funds were used for last year. So we did the professional coaching, so 6 of us went down. There was 4 different sessions to kind of increase to be a part of the Impactful Coaching Academy. There was some educational literature that was purchased to specifically support students with autism. We had a guest speaker, Kate Swenson. She came twice, so she met with the special education staff in August, and then she did a district-wide session for all staff of just kind of really increasing awareness for students with disabilities and kind of how you can have a positive impact on some of these students. And then some different staff training and support. So we paid for subs for staff to attend different trainings, especially in our paras as well. So they could attend some trainings at CISA 11. We did the root cause meetings, so that's when Risa comes in. They were on our different professional development days, so we paid for our paras to be able to come in. Those aren't required days for them, so they could come and be a part of that. And then really working, then we had inclusive strategies opportunity for staff on May 12th last year. So those were all the things that we did last year. This is what we've done so far this year. Again, part of this is like I said, to look at our systems that we have in place. So we have kind of our behavior teams that meet kind of K-12, and then we have our ES3 teams. And so part of this has been really to kind of blend those teams together so it can be a district-wide approach. So we had part of the ES3 grant sent a team up to CISA to go to a behavior solutions training. We did the first part last year. We did this year, and this was kind of taking it to that next level of really increasing some of the work with these behavior academies. So talking through some different options and supports that we can put in place for students that are maybe still struggling with some of these behaviors. That tier 1 level isn't really meeting their needs, so they need a little bit more. Again, that's district-wide, and it's blending those 2 teams together. Again, paras were able to attend the Para Summit at CISA in August. They've really appreciated that. There's a lot of positive feedback about that. We also purchased Parabytes, which is it's an online tool that provides different resources, different learning modules, different opportunities to kind of get in and dig deeper on how to support different inclusive strategies for our students. We purchased some educational software, so both the tools to support the executive functioning skills, and then this new SNAP EDU license. We have some staff working for this augmentative alternative communication device specifically for students with autism, or if they have other communication delays, so they can basically kind of work with some pictures to get some of their needs met with that. And then just more additional training for staff. So again, paid for subs during our staff trainings when paras were able to go to CISA 11. We sent some, there was a really specific executive functioning training, so paid for teachers and parents to go to that. We also, like I said before, paid for the root cause analysis meetings, and then we kind of taking it to that next level, and I'll give a really kudos to our Somerset Middle School. Risa, the root cause training that we did with the middle school staff, she said that was the most staff that she's ever had participate in a meeting like that. And she said right, if we make it, it's required, that'd be one thing. But I mean, there was paras, gym teachers, all of the gen ed staff, special ed staff, behavior coaches, and she said they not only came, but they participated and offered like a ton of really, really insightful information. She's like, I've never seen something like that before. So that was a huge shout out to them. As a result of that, we just had a ton of conversations about how it is a really useful process. And so we did another training with Risa to train all of our special ed teachers and our behavior team on how we can conduct those root cause analysis meetings ourselves. So it gives us a little autonomy to be able to do that. So that is what we've been up to. That is all I have. Questions?
Questions, anybody?
I have one.
Yeah.
Have you seen any correlation to student achievement at all?
For the students that are specifically being targeted with that, we have not. I haven't pulled that data apart. We will do another meeting at the end of May, and for specifically our students that we do have at the elementary and middle school, I will definitely kind of dig into that. The goal is really also, I didn't talk about this, but trying to reduce the numbers of like seclusion and restraints or some of those exclusionary discipline techniques that we have to do too. So that's really where the crux of our data that I've been looking at. But yeah, I can look at some of the academic achievement too. I mean, I think they would go hand in hand. If they're in school and able to participate, then they're going to be learning more. But yeah, absolutely. Great question. Anything else?
Any questions? Lori, any questions if you're with us still?
Yep, I am. Nope, I don't have any questions. Sounds good. Thank you, Jesse.
Yep.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yep.
Moving on, item number 6, academic and career plan presentation.
As they're preparing, just a few words about our academic career planning process. I've mentioned this to Matt when we were meeting our meeting before the meeting. We have some really great stuff going on in this district around academic career planning that I think sometimes there's so much happening that it almost gets lost in the mix of, wow, this is really good for the ACP process. They'll share what that's all about, but kudos to this team for doing really good work and getting it embedded at all levels. It's been really outstanding to watch and excited to bring it to the next level.
While we're waiting for Steve, can I ask Jesse like an example of what cause analysis? So there's what caused someone to act a certain way, and just really understanding the kid and the kid feeling understood.
Yeah, we have a whole template that the state provides, and it kind of looks at all of the different, if they have different diagnoses, if they have different kind of behavioral things that we're just noticing, it kind of pulls everything together. Like I said, some of those outside variables, but then also kind of the internal things that we can control. The school classes that they've been in, interventions that we've already attempted, both academic and behavioral. So it kind of just looks at their whole history, and then we look at kind of what are some of the behavior that we're specifically seeing, and then match it with the strategy to attempt. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You guys can get started whenever you're ready.
Sure.
Well, we are 3 of the members of the district ACP team. So I'm Amanda Whipke, high school assistant principal.
Sarah Stovik, high school counselor.
Amy Young, middle school counselor.
So E4E is basically a district plan that must be board approved, and it's based on Wisconsin DPI's PI 26, words are hard, administrative rule. So what this plan addresses is local, regional, state, and labor market needs. And then also education and training for occupations that will fit these labor market needs. So kind of knowing what students would need going into the future and looking toward that. And then academic and career planning, which you often hear about as ACP, and then the delivery of that. And then as well as a process that engages families, communities, businesses, and staff. And so in the next few slides, you're going to hear how we do that here.
This is, I guess, just a quick list of who is on our district ACP team. We don't meet as much as a district team as we would like, but at the high school level, we meet every other week, usually for about half an hour, just to kind of touch base on some of the things we have going at the high school. These are specific labor market statistics for St. Croix County, found on the labor website most recently. So just a couple points of note is that St. Croix County continues to be one of the fastest growing counties in Wisconsin. The median worker age is kind of right about that 40-year-old. Many commuting workers for this county, so oftentimes people have longer drive times to get to and from work. Over about half the county works across the border in Minnesota. The largest employment sectors are education and health services, and then trade, transportation, and utilities. Construction is the highest percentage growth area, which was different from the last time that we had looked at it. And as of December 2025, the unemployment rate was 3.6%.
Okay, this is like a 2-minute video. Do we have time for that, or?
Yep.
This is James, and this is Darla. James is really motivated in school. He loves science. Darla lives for cars. One thing they have in common is that their futures will work out better if they can get a little bit of their brain to start thinking right now about what they want to do. And that's why academic and career planning matters. You've probably heard about ACP by now. Did you know it's designed to help every single student and to involve the whole school? It's part of the whole student approach. Every educator has the opportunity to mentor kids. James' math teacher asks him a few good questions. It helps him learn to devote that brain space to identifying his personal strengths and interests within the field of science. Once James knows some careers he's interested in, teachers and community members start helping him think of ways to explore them while he's still in school. He acquires more confidence as he takes these baby steps into the working world. By the time he gets to his senior year, he's even going to try a youth apprenticeship in biotechnology at a place suggested by one of his teachers. And he never would have thought of it if it weren't for his teachers thinking about ACP. It turns out James wants to focus on different avenues. And if it weren't for the ACP process in middle and high school, who knows how many years and dollars it would have taken him and his family to figure that out and move him on to his next exploration. Now, Darla benefits from her school's career fair, where she talks to different professionals in the automotive field. She arranges a job shadow with an automotive technician, and she decides to explore automotive and aviation engineering. She even learns that for her goals, it'll help to have good literacy and math skills too. Schools offer a lot of these options already, but it's the comprehensive nature of ACP that makes the most difference. It's more than the sum of its parts. With the help of many educators at their schools, James and Darla are not only motivated, but they're planning for college and career, personalizing their education and their experiences to align to their own sense of purpose, their unique visions for their future. No wonder it's part of the agenda of State Superintendent Tony Evers.
You know, we want to make sure that every child is a graduate, college and career ready. And in order to make that happen in the state of Wisconsin, we have to make sure that academic and career planning is part of every child's education.
This website has more about ACP in Wisconsin and tools to help you make the most of it in your school.
Okay, so that was kind of just a good little introduction. It's kind of a for all, by all kind of thing. So it's not just, like they said, department specific. It's not just the counselors teaching about careers kind of thing. Like today I was just kind of surveying some of our teachers as we were eating lunch, and the math teacher told me, I said, do you guys ever talk about careers like when you're doing math? And she said, actually, we talked about data analytics. She goes, I even had a kid look it up to see how much money they could make kind of thing. And I was like, was it good? And she said it was pretty good. And then the ELA teacher said that they talk about being authors. Some kids are, always interested in that kind of thing. So it's hitting throughout the classes kind of thing. The social studies teacher was new to social studies, and she's like, I like that idea. She's like, I'm gonna try to do that too, kind of thing. So I believe it is in our strategic plan. It is the process of everyone doing it for all the kids, and the kids doing it as well, kind of thing. We do have a portfolio that we do use through Zello, which is a state paid for software program that we used to pay for that they now pay for, which is pretty nice. And it's all post-secondary routes. It's career ready, it's college ready, for all the kids kind of thing. It's just getting us talking about it and thinking about it. And I kind of tell the kids, you know, if you can even think about a career and you say, oh gosh, no, I don't want to do that, that's great. Like, you know, that's one out of the way kind of thing. So that now you're kind of narrowing it down. And it's student driven and adult supported. And this is kind of just the middle school things that we do. The top 7 stars there, it's kind of through our 8th grade class that we meet every day for 6 weeks, and then every kid rotates through there. And then there's like a 7th grade, some 7th grade stuff. You know, we do 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. We do guidance through those lessons, or for those classes and those grades once a month kind of thing. So for us, that's how we're touching the kids in that way. And then of course all the other teachers that are doing it on a daily basis.
For the high school, these are some of the things that we are doing ACP related there. A couple that I just kind of want to highlight. So we do career speakers for 10th and 11th graders 4 times a year. So we have one left in May. If anyone wants to come speak about their career, we'll take you. And students sign up the week before about whatever. Some students sign up for what they're interested in. Some students, I think, sign up to wherever their friends are going. But either way, they talk to someone for about 40 minutes and get to kind of hear about some different job opportunities. It's interesting too, because if students don't sign up, we then just click a button on the computer system that tells them where they're going to go. And there have been some students who did not pick where they went, but actually kind of learned quite a bit about it. So that's kind of a really cool thing that we're doing that we're hoping to continue. And most of the speakers that come in are local to the community, parents, things. So that's been a really great thing. This year, new for some of our testing days, we did college visits for 9th graders went to Northwood and went to Stout when 10th graders were testing. And then when 9th graders were testing, 10th graders went on local business trips in the morning before coming back to school for like a modified schedule. So I think we're really trying to be more intentional at the high school level. I think like post-COVID, right? Like, oh, we can have people come back into our building and we should send people and things like that. So Career Speakers, this is our 2nd year doing that, and we're hoping to kind of continue that and have that continue to grow. We also have quite a few students that participate in supervised work experience or youth apprenticeship, and this year more than any of my previous years. Students that are interested in going on some job shadowing experiences too, just to kind of see what it actually looks like when you're a vet, you know, which I think has been a great thing for them. So kind of what's next for us as we're looking forward at ACP is just kind of getting more staff onto our committee. At some point we would also like to have more of a community committee as well. Continue to document the community contact collaboration we have. We have spreadsheets just to keep track of all of our career speakers and things so that I can send them an email in August and say, do you want to come back again this year? We would love at some point to move towards a graduation portfolio for high school specifically. So by the time they graduate, they have like some of their work from each grade and some things just to kind of take with them when they leave. Just because their Google Drives, I think, get a little busy. So just kind of still having some type things that then will hopefully serve them when they go out into the world after high school. And related to that, kind of like a job shadowing and then bringing back a career fair at some point as well.
You have any questions, anyone?
I think this is awesome. I mean, and the part of it where you're getting involved with the local businesses, that's huge. So the more you can do that, I think it's fantastic. You need some interns over your place, don't you?
Well, I got 2, but I need more. I do.
And we're very intentional when we're doing career speakers, so that's something high school specific. Amanda and I both help coordinate that, and to try to make sure like we have a healthcare person almost every single time, right? And then we've been asked, there was a student that had said like, does anyone know like a lawyer, right? So we have a lawyer coming next time. So we're trying to listen to what students, we have a military representative, so Army was at one, National Guard was at one, so construction trades. So we try to have a good variety. So then hopefully there's something that every student at least is kind of interested in. And then by the time, so like our current 10th graders, by the time they're done with 11th grade, we'll have sat through 8 different career speakers. So I think it's just great exposure too for maybe something that they weren't, like I love some of our healthcare ones are so specific that I think our students just think like, oh, I'm gonna be a nurse, I'm gonna be a doctor, but there's other things too that you can do in that healthcare field, which I think has just been some great exposure.
That's awesome, get their wheels turning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Is there a assignment or anything where they're encouraged to or required to find industry people and talk to them?
No, we would love, like...
We're working towards that, though,
Yes.
because the freshmen are doing some work where they're looking for careers they might be interested in, and then we're trying to reach out to somebody in that field.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that's really a good one. What else is there? Any specific representations you're lacking in that committee from the area or business? Still building it?
Yeah, still building it. I do, like a community committee is really our goal. Because like, you know, finding the career speakers and businesses is just us like sending out emails, sending things to parents, right? So we would love to get at a place where there is more of a community involvement, especially since we want to continue growing these things. So that is definitely something when we're looking ahead, something we would like to do.
Dr. Grambo, what can be done to market that?
Yeah, chamber.
That's how we got the,
chamber.
yep.
That's the, yeah, they work with the chamber quite a bit, and we're really trying to strengthen that connection because they're such a great resource. One thing, they mentioned it, but seriously, we've got, every one of you has an interesting story to tell in terms of your career path, so do consider being involved. You all have interesting things that kids would connect with, so that would be great.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of leave it for career speakers. We're pretty open in terms of some make slides, some just choose to talk. But we kind of just ask, like, we talk about how you got to where you are. Is that because for so many of us, we didn't just walk out of high school and we've been doing the same thing ever since, you know? So kind of talking about what our own pathways are. And I think that just sparks some really great things for students too, of thinking, what do they want kind of long-term out of life.
And it shows that pathways aren't always cut and dry too. Like you might start with one path and then see, oh, actually this is what I'm interested in. So just seeing that everybody's a little different.
And Amy mentioned it earlier, talked about that idea that as you go through this process, you want to narrow down the things you want to consider. So you leave with some idea of what your next step would be. Not what your career for the rest of your life would be, but what that next step might be. So I view it in two ways. That's the narrowing, but then there's also this expansion that happens. You want kids to see that they have so many options out there. You don't want students, I mean, some students totally know. They leave, they graduate, like this is my thing, and they're locked in. But that's not most kids. Most kids really don't have a clue specifically what they want to do, and bet dollars to donuts that they'll change their mind several times. So you want them to leave and realize there's so many different options out there, and they get excited about all those different options. We want them to have as much hope about their future as they possibly can when they graduate from here.
Great, absolutely, yeah. If you need business or engineering, I nominate, I'll do it.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the ACP plan is linked to the agenda, so if you could take some time to review that, and then we does need board approval at the next board meeting.
Okay.
So that will be the next piece, so if you could do that, and if any questions come up, reach out and we'll get you some
Alicia, you got that?
Yep.
So don't forget.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't have to ask me that.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let you move the camera and get caught up first.
Okay.
Laura, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, excellent.
It's impressive, Lori.
Marshall, just making sure.
She's developing an English accent.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear that?
High caffeine routine.
If it doesn't, I can just do it.
All good? Alicia?
Yeah, it's moved, yep.
Okay, all right, this is a quick one, item number 9, this is the Excel Energy easement and the future potential easement. It's linked here, the information, but we're gonna table this, because, go ahead.
Yeah, so Ian and Danny had some good questions. I reached out to Trevor, he responded, got our responses. One of the questions was the precedent setting of this, and he said the way it's written, we don't have to worry about that it's not setting any long-term precedent. Danny had some questions as well, and some language, or like a direction that she wanted us to pursue. Trevor agreed that was a good idea. He got us language. That language is now in the hands of Excel, and they haven't responded yet, so there's really nothing to do. Until we have a response to that proposal, we don't want to take action. So we'll just keep this on the agenda until we have specific feedback. I did hear from one of the individuals that she passed it on up the ladder for someone to weigh in. So that's where we are right now with that.
So will we keep this standing, or just it'll come off? It'll be on the next agenda if they respond.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yep. And I don't want to take it off in case they respond last minute, and then we're too late to have it posted. So
it'll likely be there.
Yeah, it's kind of like referendum invoices.
Got it.
It's there forever, and there's never anything like it.
Okay. Item number 10, 2025-26 third quarter budget presentation update.
All right.
I hate to do this again, but do we want to move that camera?
No, all good. Do you want to move to the?
Well, we
Yeah,
probably should.
yeah. How do I get rid of this? Okay, there we go. All right.
Getting your steps in.
That's right. Hopefully everybody took their Dramamine. All right, I go a little bit more. There we go.
Whenever you're ready.
And then if those arrows don't work to scroll, just tell me where you want to go.
All right.
Okay.
I don't think they will. I think you'll have to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, today I'm going to discuss the general operating budget, the actuals for the third quarter that ended on March 31st. And this presentation is a summary of the dollars and cents document that's attached to the agenda tonight. And so the one that's attached to the agenda takes a much deeper dive. This is just going to be a real brief summary. We discussed this a couple months ago at the end of the second quarter, because this is the end of the third quarter. So just to give you some numbers, kind of where we're at right now, we are 75% through the fiscal year, 75.7% through the school year. We paid out 59% of the teacher payroll at this point and 75% of the year-round employees. And like at the last time I presented, I want to point out those two main numbers there. 59% of teachers have been paid and 75% for the year-round staff, because those numbers will keep popping back up with the year-to-date numbers that show up here. Let's go to the next one. Yep, so if we look at this graph here, this shows how much money we've spent the third quarter. We spent 56.5% of the annual budget. Sounds kind of low since we're 75% through the year, but if you think about staff salaries make up most of the budget, and the teachers' salaries make up even most of that. And since they've only been paid 59% so far this year, that's why the budget's still only spent about 56.5%. If we compare that to last year, at this point, we had spent 57.1% of the budget, so just taking a look at that, we are in a very good spot this year as compared to last year. And then if we take a look at the expenses by function, function tells us where the expenses in the district have been made. So if you look at the numbers in the green, that's the numbers I consider we're on budget or below budget. So we're in a good spot with those. So if you look at a lot of the top ones, they're right around the 59%. So that's the kind of school year expenses. The expenses that's in blue font, that's kind of the year-round staff, so they're right around the 75%. If you look at the When I scroll down a little bit, the one that's in the red there, 127%. That is an expense that was paid out early in the year for HSAs to staff. It's only, what, $3,900 over budget, it's not a big deal. There's no more expenses going to that for this year, so that's in a good spot. The last two down there, purchased instructional services and other non-program transactions. You see hardly any of the budget's been spent so far. Those get spent here in the fourth quarter of the year, and they'll pretty much be spent by the end of the fourth quarter. And the next one. This here gives you a comparison of last year to this year in the main core areas of instruction, support services, and non-program transactions. So if you compare year to year, we're very much in line, 56.5% last year, 57.1% this year. And just to give you a graphic of it down below, that's this year to last year, you can see that they're very similar. So again, looking at this metric, we are in a very good spot. Now we can look at expenditures by object. This tells you what has been spent so far this year. Again, the green is stuff that's at or below budget. Yellow, if you scroll down a little bit, that's kind of things I think are neutral. The red is where we're over budget. And that 500 capital objects. The main reason we're over expense there is kind of where Troy talked about tonight, where we spent money to pay for the hockey arena, hours over there. Though that money was not budgeted, we came up with that later after the budget was presented. So that's why that line item there is over budget, is because of that one item. So if we look at that, that's another indication that we are in a good spot. Everything's looking pretty good there. So like we did last time, this is a closer examination of some of the key expenses in the district. Everything there is at or below 75%, other than the gas and oil for heat and snow removal. If you remember last time we talked, I told you that gas and oil for heat was likely going to be over budget coming into this quarter because January and March were two very cold months. We had to use a lot of fuel oil to supplement that. And I also talked to you about snow removal was likely going to be over budget. And that's like, what, 23,000 over? But if you look at some of the other expenses, IT and curriculum are very under budget at this point. Those are the two departments that spend most of their money in the fourth quarter here, as they make sure that they have the money at the end of the year to spend on it. Personal legal services, only spent 7.2% of the budget, so we've done excellent there. If we can keep that trend going, that'll help cover the deficits that we have in snow removal and gas and heat. And the last one to talk about there is the non-vested HRA. We're really low compared to last year. Last year we'd spent 78% of the budget by this point. This year it's only 47.7%. What that is that's the portion of the health insurance that people get to when they're get towards using up all their deductible. So that's a good sign that our staff haven't been using the insurance as much as they did last year. And that's a good sign that hopefully our renewal rates for next year will stay a little bit lower than anticipated. So that's a great sign. So if we take a look at special education, this is in a good area too. This compares last year with this year. This year we spent 61.8% of the budget to date compared to 62.5%. And then just a quick graphic down below just to show how both years line up. And then we can move on to the revenue side. If you remember last time we talked about revenue, that it was we had received very little revenue. I think it was at the end of the first half of the year, it was only about 18%. We've caught up a little bit. We've received about half of our property tax revenue and 66.6% of our revenue from state aid. And so we've received almost half, a little over half of our revenue for the year. And you can just go to the next one. Let's go down one more. So these two show the cash flow timing. I showed you this one last time. So the red line is our expenses month by month. You can see it's pretty flat. It starts out a little less in July and August once teachers come back, start receiving pay. Jumps up, stays pretty steady. The green line is our expense, our revenue. You can see we get a little bump in September. It's pretty flat, July and August. October, November, we receive hardly any money, and then we get a big jump in December when we get a state aid payment and get half of our property tax revenue in. So we're at a good spot right now. If you look at the bottom graph, Alicia, this is our cumulative one. The red line shows how much we've spent so far this year. You can see most of the year we've received left revenue than we have spent, and it kind of catches back up in January, and right now we're slightly over. We received a little more revenue than we spent. But the main thing coming up for the next 2 months, we're going to receive very little revenue. We don't receive any big payments until June. We'll receive the rest of our state aid, and we don't receive the rest of our property taxes until late August. So that's one of the reasons why I stress that we need to have a healthy fund balance to cover us for these next couple of months when it's pretty lean. And just to summarize, so I think at this point of the year we're in very good shape. There's no indications that we're going to go over budget. It's a pretty good indication right now we should come in at budget or maybe slightly under. So I think everything's looking great. Any questions?
I was going to ask about snow removal. How often do we go over snow removal? Is it?
Yeah, good question. Like the last couple of years, we've been very under the budget. So that's one of the hardest expenses to try to figure out what to budget for. So our goal is maybe over a 3 to 5 year period. Looking at some years over under, some we're over, and hopefully over that 3 to 5 years we can balance it out, break even.
Other questions?
I have one. Do we know this year for 25, 26, what we'll need to take from Fund 10 to cover special education?
Remember, Dave, I think it was
Was it 2 million last year that we discussed?
I think it's like 2.1 probably we're estimating.
So similar to.
Yeah, we had that exact number for last year that we didn't get. And that's something that we're hopeful that the state continues to make progress with increasing that percentage that they would reimburse. That would be great for a lot of reasons. That would, there was a question a few meetings ago about the potential of changing our determination for open enrollment spaces, and if funding were increased or reimbursement was increased by the state, it would open up some possibility and potential there for us to explore.
Any other questions? Lori, any questions?
Nope, I don't have any questions right now.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Great work.
Next up, reports. This is probably Rod too, or are you going to start?
Actually, I'll do this, Jim. I'll do this first one, and Sarah's got the second one. So first one is the compensation proposal, but yes, Rod and Rochelle and I work together on this and partner on the compensation plan. Before we get into the memo and the plan, just a reminder, that was one of our big goals this year, was to have this done before we leave for the summer, so staff would know what the compensation plan is going forward. We met that goal, but then the last time we were meeting, we realized if we would have done this a month earlier, we would have had this done before contracts were issued. So now we're modifying our goal for next year to have this done by April, because then when you have to, statutorily, you have to have contracts out by the middle of this month, and we wouldn't have been able to do that with board action that happens after the 15th. So we realized if we get this done in April, that will save everyone time, and we'll get contracts out in one fell swoop. So new goal for next year. Now on to the proposal. So there's 2 documents linked there. The first is a memo, and the second is the comparable data. I'll speak to the memo first, so if we can open that up. When we looked at this year's compensation proposal, we were really basing this on the fact that we commissioned a report from McGrath a few years ago, obviously before most of us were either here or in the jobs we're in now. But McGrath did a nice job of offering a comprehensive analysis of our current compensation structure and then recommendations moving forward. We're trying to get in line with that recommendation as much as possible because it's good to have a basis from which to make decisions. And I think that what they offered was solid advice. And the first thing that we did, and this was a few months ago already, you as a board endorsed the comps, the districts that we would look at when we would make these decisions. We're not locking into any numbers or any decisions, but saying, yeah, for the most part, these are the districts that we want to look at as we move forward. And when we go to the other document, we can look specifically at what they are. But when we analyzed all that, we wanted to be as systematic and market-based as possible. So the proposal that we're bringing forward is not based on departments that we think have more value to the system. It's not based on those that we think work harder than someone else. It's based on market conditions. And we know that based on feedback we've already heard, some groups maybe aren't so happy with the proposal. We get that, we understand that. We'll support everyone through that process and listen to what their concerns are. We've already done a lot of that through the listening sessions. Some of that informed what we're bringing forward, but there's not enough money to have everyone have an enhanced percentage. So when I speak of enhanced percentage, this proposal is two-tiered. First, it has a recommended base increase for everyone. That is based on CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which would be what we believe is the most accurate sort of cost of living measure that we'd use. If we were in a union environment, we'd be bound to use that number, but it's a good basis from which to work. Essentially saying if your annual increase is less than that, you haven't kept up with the cost of living. So that's the first thing. And then the next part is for groups that we consider out of alignment with our comps, we're recommended an enhanced 1 percentage point on top of that 2.8. And when we determine this is the one part that, in full transparency, was somewhat arbitrary. We had to determine what we felt was out of alignment. We decided 3% below the median or the mean. For almost all groups, we were able to use the median. For some groups, there weren't enough in that sample size to use a median, and you'd end up with really big swings if you were on one side of the median versus the other. So we decided to recommend the mean for that one. So we have it now. When we get down to, that 1% equates to an additional investment of $26,000. So that's the total investment if we were to approve that 1% enhanced percentage increase for those groups that are out of alignment with the comps. We get to the proposal and you can see the base increase. There's only 3 bullet points, but it's almost everyone. So support staff, supervisory support staff, steps plus so steps would be on their salary scale, on that salary grid. The step would be the increase that's built in as they move through the system and gain experience. So for support staff, supervisory support staff, steps and the 2.8, teachers and specialists, steps in the 2.8, administration, steps in 2.8. Now this next category, some of these are like one person or a few people, a couple are a little bit larger groups, but I'm going to go through each one of them. These are all the 3.8% plus the steps, the recommendation. So it's the 2.8 with that enhanced 1%. The idea is we can't get everyone in alignment in 1 year. We can't afford it. But what we can do is chip away at that over time to get people close to alignment. The alignment isn't arbitrary. It's not just something we say, oh, this would be fair or this would be a nice number. It really is about retention. We know that if we're not in alignment with our neighbors, we run the risk of losing our folks. We run the risk of them going to neighboring districts, many of which are part of our comparable group, and lose them because they're out of whack. And that's the last thing we want to do. We know that the number one thing we can do is have stability with the great people that we have, and this proposal is built on that assumption. So we have special education paraprofessionals. That will be no surprise to anyone here. That was the one group that we did an enhancement for last year. We did that because we didn't have a system to analyze everyone at that point. We had to build that this year. So we built that from ground up. Now we can look at all groups and make sure that we're moving in that way. And then we have the office aide level 1, that would be the person up front for the most part in the schools when you enter the office. Healthcare assistants, that would be the 2 positions that we have for healthcare assistants at the middle school and the elementary school. Executive assistant to the superintendent, not sure who that one is. And then assistant principal and principals, all of those folks. And then, this is an awkward meeting when a lot of people are in the room. Just realize that now they're going through it. So pupil service director and CIA director, steps plus the 3.8% on the salary schedule for those folks as well. Additionally, we have one other suggestion, and that would be a sick day incentive. This would be for retirees who have worked in the district for at least 10 years. The district would pay $25 per accumulated unused sick day for a total maximum potential cost of that $22.50 per retiree. We don't anticipate that one over time actually costing anything, because we know it's human nature. If you're ready to retire and you have some sick days, you're more likely to burn them at the end. And not that people are going to fraudulently use sick time, but they're going to make appointments and do other things. If they know there's some incentive, they might hold off. And this is one that we've heard from either folks that are about to retire, that this would be something that would be meaningful to them. This again came out of our listening sessions and our rounding. This was definitely a theme that emerged. I've got the overall priorities. Again, we want to align the base to cost of living. Talked about that. Making sure that we are positioned well to recruit and retain. I've mentioned this before, but I'll probably say it every time I bring this forward. Retention is, I believe, more important than recruitment. Even though recruitment seems more urgent, from a systemic approach, if we retain really well, we're more likely to recruit. If people say, look at how long those people stay there, and hear what they're saying about being treated well and being treated respectfully, we're more likely then to recruit. Where recruiting great folks is amazingly important, but it doesn't have that ancillary benefit of also necessarily helping retention. So we really want to take care of the people that we've already invested in. The other side of that is, it is an investment. When you onboard someone, there's cost associated with that. Every time you bring someone new into the system, it costs money to get them up to speed. It's a fun investment, it's the best investment we can make, but it's still money. So it actually saves us money and energy if we're able to hold on to the people that we already have invested in. We know we've got our 2 big challenges. One is state funding formula does not play in our favor. So when we were talking about budget projections moving forward and watching that deficit grow, this is the stuff that does that. This drives that more than anything. When 80+% of our budget is driven by salaries and wages, even a modest increase is a big impact on the budget. And that's just that's the nature of working in a people-based business. And we know that recruitment and retention continues to be a challenge. I will say we've had an amazing recruiting season so far. We brought in some amazing staff members. So excited about where we're heading with some of the folks that we brought in. And I think some of the latitude and flexibility that we're afforded has allowed us to do that. I think also the reputation that we have as a district has helped out that as well. So really excited about bringing some great talent forward. So that's the proposal. I do want to just take a second to go to that other document so you can see the numbers behind the analysis and how this works. So we can go to that comp data worksheet. And we'll start with certified staff, even though this one is probably the most varied from the others, but we'll just talk about it real quickly. You can see the districts ranked 0 through 11, or not ranked, but numbered. We do that just for sorting purposes. So we are one of the total 11 comparable districts. We compare it to 10. These districts are consistent. In all the groups, it's the same districts. Rochelle Lindquist does a great job of gathering this data. We get some of it from CISA surveys, but not all of it. She has to get on the phone, call folks, get this data. So we get this populated as much as we possibly can to have an accurate representation. And then we look down, we've got the mean, median, and then we copy down Somerset in that red line. So you can always compare, that's what we're looking at. You'll notice there is no magenta on this. Magenta is the color we use to color code things that are out of alignment. We'll get to those in the next couple tabs. But then we also put it in a graphical form there so you can take a look and see how that lines up. What we know about we've got an interesting scale. We start out very comparable. We actually take a leap in the middle where we're very healthy in the middle. Reason being, we have a big jump at masters, bigger than most districts have at masters, but then it tapers off, so our top end is not as high as the comps. So it's about right in the median, a little bit of a jump, and then it tapers down. Not that we don't want to pay well all the way through, but in a teacher's salary, the faster we can move them to a living wage, the better off we are. We've said this before. When you move to a community, you want to make sure that your teachers and your firefighters and your police officers and your nurses, and those are the ones we always look at, can afford to live in your community. Those are the people, they're the heart of the community, and they often are in a salary range that it's not easy for them to find a way to live in the community they serve. So, and we look at that, that's important to us. So when we look at this group specifically, relatively aligned, so we don't have any enhanced suggestions for this group. Let's go to the support staff tab, and you can see the way this one plays out. So we'll scroll to the bottom because the districts are all the same. We have a couple that are magenta. If you look at the very bottom line in row 18, it starts with a negative 2.51. That means for that group, the starting scale for paraprofessionals were about 2.51% below the median. We don't consider that out of alignment. We picked 3% arbitrarily, but we stuck with it all the way through. That was the number we picked, that was the number we stuck with. So then if you go over to special ed paraprofessionals, we can see negative 3.74. So theoretically, with this 1%, if everything else in our comp stayed the same, that 1% would bring them above that 3% threshold. So next year's proposal will have a different, we'll do this analysis again, we'll have a different set of recommendations. And you can see that there's some that are very off, and there's some that are just a little bit off. And there's some that are actually slightly above. There's also some that are difficult to evaluate because not all districts have the same positions or the same nomenclature for every one of the positions. For this group, it wasn't too bad. I want to go to the admin tab now, that's the next one. So we'll scroll down to the bottom again. This is the one where we used mean. Not because we thought it would paint a more favorable picture for the recommendation. Actually, in some of them, it's the opposite of that. But we're going to look at, let's look at curriculum director as an example. We can't include Osceola or Prescott in our comps. They're automatically taken out. The reason we can't include them is they don't have that position. They offer a stipend to an existing, like a principal, to do those additional responsibilities. So clearly they're not paying like a curriculum director $21,000. That's an additional stipend they're offering to a principal. So it's difficult to evaluate them, and when you end up with a small sample size that has a range that's sizable, one move up or down can be a really big swing in those numbers, and it turned out to be, I think we'd end up with an unfair recommendation. So we went to the mean that seemed to balance it out a little bit more with these numbers, the way they play out. So you can see the mean and where we are and those percentages, and these, so we have the curriculum director position, pupil service director, and principals in high school, assistant principal as well, listed as considerably below that market range. And this is one too, there was a question earlier, and the question was, well, could these numbers be skewed because you have certain people in these districts that have been there for a long time, so have built up their salary? And the answer is absolutely it could be. I can't speak for all districts, I can only speak for my former district, and that's not the case there. You get paid for the job that you do. So it doesn't matter, the person that took my job is getting paid essentially what I was getting paid when I left. That's the compensation for that position. I don't know if all districts do that or not, we don't have that information. But that's the basis for the recommendation that you have before you. And we're not looking for action. This is just informational tonight. We'll bring this forward again. In the meantime, if you have questions now, I'd be glad to respond. If you have questions between now and the next 2 weeks, feel free to shoot me an email. You can ask any questions then as well.
This is kind of on topic, but maybe not 100%. I always struggle with traditional school compensation.
Yeah.
A lot of us here work in the private sector,
Mm-hmm.
and we get bonuses.
Yeah.
At some point in time, if the school, if the metrics are looking good, and we're performing well,
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't we look at bonuses for
Yeah.
our teachers?
It's a great question. There's a lot to it. Part of it has to do with potential political activity that could occur. Act 10 was the law that was passed that would allow that to happen relatively easily, because when it was put in place, it really changed collective bargaining rights for teachers and for school employees. There is a very strong possibility that will be on the Supreme Court docket and potentially overturned. We have no idea. So like every legal seminar, every time there's someone speaking about this, it's a lot of unknown right now in terms of where that would go. So if it is overturned and we end up in a more favorable environment for collective bargaining or unionization, it would make that challenging because it brings steps and lanes. If that doesn't happen, that possibility is certainly there. It requires an investment that is significant, and I appreciate the way you're describing it. I completely agree with. If we have people doing great things, to compensate them for that makes a ton of sense. Figuring out the metrics around that, like how do we parse that off so it's fair to everyone that's in the system, is challenging but not impossible. My recommendation would be that we don't consider that until the Act 10 landscape is settled, because it could be a lot of time and then we find out and we can't do anything with it right now. So, but then
Estimated time for that.
well, I would guess that something will happen.
Impossible question?
But I think sometime this upcoming school year, we'll know one way or the other. So, I don't know, I'd have to look to see exactly where it is right now, but just at this last conference I was at, I went to a session from school attorneys that presented on this, and this is the most recent information they offered, that we don't have to worry and we don't have to undo everything we've done if it happens. It's not, the sky's not falling, but it certainly would change the landscape a bit.
Yeah, for me, it's like the biggest lever that makes me go from, you talk about operational referendums and wages being the biggest part of the budget.
Yeah.
Like, the proper incentive structure, where it's a formula based, not subjective, who's popular gets the pay raise, yeah, you have to be very careful. So
Yep.
like, but something that's obviously very academic, success based, that motivates everyone, like, hey, get there.
Exceptional.
Let's pass that top operational referendum and give people big raises or bonuses, so it's more like year by year. You have to re-earn it every year. It's not this like, oh, you got there, now you can, start coasting again or anything. So,
Yep, no, and honestly, I think if you, and I don't know this for sure, so don't quote me on this, but I think if you go purely bonus-based, there might be more flexibility if it's not building into the base wage. I think there actually is more flexibility regardless of where the Act 10 thing happens, but I can look into that a little bit more to find out what that would require.
Do you have a copy of the McGrath study that was done?
I do, yes.
Could you share that?
Yes.
I know Ian and I were on, Lori was on, but that's probably it on the board when that was done. And just so everybody's aware, like that study was done, and then the board decided to not adopt those recommendations. So it'd be good for all of you to see that.
The problem we had is it was adding positions.
Well, there was that, and then there was some catch up on pay. So we've just stayed in the hole or behind on some of these positions. So it'd be good if you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know,
share
because
it out.
I found it, and so I know I have it somewhere. So I'll find it tomorrow and send it out to everyone.
I mean, it was a study that we paid for.
Yeah.
And then got the results and went the opposite direction. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And this proposal is trying to get back in alignment with that, but not with a big swing, doing that slowly over time.
Lori, any questions?
No, not right now.
The proposal that you you've put out, does that get those categories out of the magenta?
No, not all of
No,
them.
I mean,
And
because I'm like, it's 13%.
right, exactly.
There's
Some
no
are
way
so
that's
so low that we would have to invest significantly more. This is our first attempt at starting to chip away. Might we need to come up, like, maybe there's a 3-tier system in the future, that some that are so out of whack, we have something else, but right now, we wanna make sure we do this methodically and we do it right, so the recommendation is to start small with that, just that 1% additional.
Any other questions?
Is there any state data or any industry comparables? Education is so unique, but I feel like every industry's been pacing behind inflation. It sounds bad, like, oh, we've been behind. Everybody has been, right? I mean, it's.
That McGrath study covers some of that.
That does?
That was the
That's
whole purpose of that. That's what that analysis was. They looked at all of our positions comparative to everyone else, and then gave the report.
I agree with what Dave said. The main thing is your surrounding district and you're competitive to retain and stuff. So, but, all right.
Okay, so let's come back in 2 weeks for action.
Yep.
Got it. Next item, textbook.
Yeah, textbook adoption, so that is Sarah, so
That's
we'll
me.
probably have to adjust the camera again.
No, I don't have to. We're good. You can just leave it. Here, use your muscles. Okay, so I have 2 textbooks in front of you this evening that you can take a look at. If you don't have time tonight, you want to come to my office, feel free. We have 2 courses at the high school that are going to need updated textbooks in order to deliver the curriculum that's designed. One is the dual credit course that we teach from UW River Falls, which is elementary statistics. If you recall, when we had a retirement last year, we switched from teaching AP statistics at the high school, and we entered into a partnership with UW River Falls to teach their elementary statistics course, which is a course that's designed by UW River Falls, and then our high school teacher teaches that course. Kids that are successful in that course earn 4 UW River Falls credits. It has gone very well, and when we made the shift this year, we said, okay, we're going to use the AP statistics book to see how it goes this first year. With working through it this first year with our high school teacher, statistics has shifted how it's being taught. That is not my world that I spin in, but when she and I spoke, it is much more not so much doing the data sets and putting them together, but interpreting those data sets and applying what you've learned from them. And so the textbook that UW River Falls uses is the one that is being passed around, and it is the one that she would like to use going forward. It also has a really awesome online component that puts the data sets together and really allows the kids to manipulate the data, to look at it and apply it, instead of just trying to figure out how to create the data sets themselves. So she's very excited about this. It has gone very well. We had, I think we have 55 kids registered for it for next year already. I've had requested that course. And she's extremely excited to continue that partnership with River Falls. And so that would help her immensely to be able to follow the curriculum that they've laid out. So it'd be great if you'd approve that. It fits in my budget. Very much, as you can tell, Rod said that I was under budget. I said, don't worry, we've got some stuff coming. That was before the ELA purchase, and then some of these AP courses that are coming due. And so that will be a part of my budget this year that we would be able to support. Any questions about elementary statistics?
I was going to ask when they're both done, but you're very limited on what textbook you can use, right?
Right. So we're limited due to the content and the curriculum that's laid out. When we sign on with UW River Falls, we say, yes, we will use your syllabus. We will use the curriculum that you have laid out. And there are limited books that are going to support that. She is supported by a mentor teacher, a mentor professor at River Falls. So it's much easier for them to have conversations if they're using the same resource as well. There's an entire group that gets together for River Falls of other high school teachers as well that are teaching the same course. So in that way, when we sign a memorandum of understanding with a university, we say, yes, we will teach it. This is very much like the college and the schools courses from the University of Minnesota that we teach. We agree to teach their standards. The other book that I have coming in front of you tonight is for Advanced Placement Language and Composition, which is an AP course that we adopted in 2017 and have not updated the textbook since that time. Since that time, the course has been revamped, the curriculum has been redone, and so the current textbook that has been used at the high school has been a combination of that and other pieces that the teacher can pull in order to support the new layout that the College Board has said we need to be following. And so he looked at the textbook that he had been using in its newest edition, as well as this one, Ideas and Argument, which is being passed around. This one was written by someone who worked for the College Board as a curriculum designer. So knows the course very well, gets the kids thinking and trying to define their own arguments. He teaches this course kind of alongside our College in the Schools history course, so the two marry really well together, where the kids are getting this college level of reading and writing in the high school through two different courseworks. And so again, he follows the AP curriculum, he uses the AP assessments, and he is of the belief that this is the book because it is laid out exactly how the AP language and composition standards are laid out, that it will be the best for our students. So that's what I have for you tonight. They'll come back for approval. If you have questions, please ask. Again, this is the best way that we feel we can support our kids. I do also want to say we're entering AP testing season, and tomorrow alone, we are AP testing 98 kids, which is super exciting to have that many kids on one given day taking some AP tests. So it's pretty awesome for a high school our size that we have that many kids taking a test tomorrow. So please let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer them.
How is the name Block in every author on here? Are they all family?
Maybe? I don't know.
They're from all over the country. I'm like, block.
Yep.
Statistics.
It's a stage name.
What are the chances?
It could be. Yeah, no idea. Maybe it is a family game. I
said they're both they're from all over the country. So. All right, any questions at all on the curriculum? Lori?
Nope, I don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay. All right, that'll come back in 2 weeks as well.
Awesome, thanks.
Number 12, superintendent report.
Yeah, we had other reports. Alicia and I were talking about potentially restructuring that, just the topic of superintendent report, because technically we should notice what the topic of the conversation is. So having one that's like a standing item for superintendent report, we might recommend restructuring that a little bit. I'm typically offering reports anyway, but we then notice them by the topic of the report as opposed to by who's giving the report. So if you're comfortable with us pursuing that, I think it might make some sense.
Sounds good. Next item, general information, May 18th. It's 2 weeks from now. That'll be our regular session. There'll be a listening session 30 minutes prior. District celebrations. Lori, do you want to start?
Sure. I believe this is Educator Appreciation Week. And thank you to all of our staff who do wonderful things for our students every day.
Thank you. Steve?
I've got nothing to that.
Corey?
8th grade volleyball did really well this weekend, and went to a track meet that was really fun. So we're trying to. I can understand the challenge of getting parents to, but I wasn't asked either. So I'll try to help them with that too. And a lot of good going on. Thanks for the reports.
Ian?
Yeah, thanks to Robin for presenting. Make sure you get to the show choir on Saturday. We're all missing a band concert right now.
No, it's over.
You
missed it.
We always seem to do that to ourselves. All kinds of stuff going on with athletics, golf, soccer. Softball, baseball. On the district Facebook page, there's a list of everything going on this week, so check it out and get to what you can.
Thanks. Tricia?
Yeah, I went to the band concert tonight. It was, that's why I stepped out. Middle school band is so fun to see what Mr. Purcell can do with the 7th, 8th graders, and then what happens once they get to their senior year. I mean, high school's freshman through senior, but it's just amazing the change that takes place between middle school and high school band and the growth. And it was fun watching that tonight, listening to it. Like you said, show choir, and then next Monday is the choir concert, spring choir concert. So, and I think that's it.
Very good. Danny?
Friday is the Grandparents' Day program for second grade with, is it the practice on Thursday that
Yeah.
board members were
Yep.
invited to?
Yep, and Deerfield will be there on Thursday for the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Anything else? All right, and I got nothing.
I'm not supposed to have one, but I think a celebration for Lori. What time is it where you are right now, Lori?
Well, I didn't want everybody to know this, but it's 2:10 a.m.
So now everyone knows it, so thank you for your dedication, that's something.
With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Steve, is there a second?
Second.
Give Tricia the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned at 8:10.
Good night.
Good night, Lori.
Good morning.